Thank you for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. Today we're taking a little field trip out to the Heart and Trotter whole animal butchery. We're going to learn where cuts like picanha and tri-tip come from. Let's get going. All right, I'm here at the Heart and Trotter whole animal butchery in San Diego, California, with head butcher and co-founder James Holtzlag. James, how you doing?
Good morning, doing great.
So why don't you tell us a little about Heart and Trotter?
Yeah, of course. So the Heart and Trotter is the first local whole animal butcher shop in San Diego. As you will see, we break down whole animals, nose to tail. We process every part and piece of the animal in-house. We have a full kitchen, smoker, grinder, vacuum packer, all that stuff. So we take whole carcasses and break it down to everything from bologna and different kind of charcuterie to your typical steaks and everything from there.
So you're actually making your own charcuterie.
Correct.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So we have here this is a hindquarter of a steer.
This is a hindquarter of a steer. This is from Mariposa Ranch up in Newman, California. It's 100% grass-fed, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of age on it. We've been letting it hang for about 3 weeks now, and which really just develops the flavor, tightens up the muscles, and gives you a better steak. So we are going to go ahead and start breaking it down.
And the thing that I'm really excited about is I want to see that tri-tip come out of here, because I know a lot of my viewers from other parts of the world, especially parts of the country here, they have a hard time finding a tri-tip. So James is going to show us where it comes from.
Of course, yeah, and the tri-tip's a little tricky. It's a muscle right in basically the pelvic area of the animal, and is not really popular around the United States.
For the life of me, I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's an amazing cut, and it's very popular here in California. Me coming from Virginia, I had never heard of it until I came out here, and it's amazing. So.
Right, well, I'm going to get out of your way and
Sure.
let you do what you do.
Of course, thanks. All right, guys, so what we do here at the Heart and Trotter is we break everything down by hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and start breaking down this hindquarter. This is my trusty 5-inch boning knife. We pretty much do 95% of everything with this little guy, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start to separate the flap, the flank, from the round, and then I'll start breaking everything down from there. So let me start to separate this. So I'm just really looking for seams, as you can see, not hitting any meat, using gravity and tension to help me out through the process. So I want to kind of cut that away to give me a little bit of room to work. First thing I'm going to take off is the flank steak, which is right here. And so I'm just going to go right around that, and then cut off some of this connective tissue, which holds everything together. Let's see. Then I'll start to pull it off. So it starts to look like a flank steak somewhat. And then from there, there's a lot of different flat meats, thin carne asada type meats that we really start just pulling off of the flank area. So along with some connective tissue, and start breaking it down. Some of this stuff is not usable, so we'll use it in things like broths and stocks just for flavoring. We'll go ahead and cut off some of this stuff. Clean it up, go from there. And then you really just start pulling, finding the seams. And like I said, this is it's really good like taco meat, grilling meat, or of course you could throw it into like ground meat. All right, this next piece is actually an amazing piece of meat that a lot of people don't know about. We call it the bavette. It's nice and thick and similar to the hanger steak as far as texture and flavor. And so what we want to do is kind of cut down right along the tenderloin to separate this a bit. And just like the other flat meat, it'll pull off once you get into the seam. Cut around the outside of it, pull it off.
So is what they call the ranchera?
No. So this is the sirloin flap. You'll see it as either a bavette or like a faux hanger. It's as you can see, it's nice and thick. There's a good amount of fat on it. It's similar to a skirt steak. You can see how it the protein fibers look similar to a skirt steak and a hanger steak. So nice and tender, a lot of really good flavor, like a high-end carne asada or just a really good steak by itself. Quick seared and you're good to go on that guy. So I've cleaned out most of the flat meat. Now we're going to get into the tenderloin, which sits right here against the pelvic bone and then the spine itself. So first thing I'm going to do is just clean away some of this, some of the extra connective tissue and age. All this stuff kind of pulls off. That's generally not edible. Good for dog food, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start to take the tenderloin off. So I just want to go right up against the spine. So what I'm going to do is basically about an inch, half inch at a time, just go right around the spine itself. So I can start to pull this off. As you can see, the knife, with a flexible knife, you could just go right along the contours of the bone and it'll curve around it. And then it starts to pull away fairly easily. So, got it cut off of the spine itself. Now we want to continue that along the pelvis bone right here. So the H bone and the 1 or the 0 joint, they're connected. So I'm just going to go straight down along that bone to disconnect those. You'll see as I pull it open, There's a bone right underneath here that I'm gonna start working around. And kind of pull it away. There's a little pocket right up against the top sirloin right there. So just follow this up towards the H bone right there. And so it goes to a point, and I'm just going to follow that seam up to the point to pull this whole thing off. And with whole animal, it's a lot of just working around the joints and the fat and the seams. It's a lot of pushing and pulling. But anyway, that's the tenderloin. Okay, so from here, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim up some of the flank right there, and then take the New York, the strip loin off, and then that'll leave the top sirloin, and then we'll get to the tri-tip, which is located right here. So I want to find the fat seam, make sure not to dig into the tri-tip itself. And then pull some of this. This is the kidney fat out so we can just see a little better. And then go ahead and start to take that off. So from here, they always leave one rib bone, the last rib. So I just need to use the saw to get through that. Just like that. And so with this, you can see there's a decent amount of meat in there. It's just flat meat. We'll trim it up, use it for grind or taco meat or anything like that. Okay, next thing I want to do is separate the strip loin. And so what I'm looking for is the zero joint, which is right here. That's where the spine and the tail meet. So it meets in kind of like a U shape or V shape. And so I want to go one joint up, and that's where I want to separate. And just get through the bone itself. Use my scimitar. And cut that off. So there is a bone-in New York. Okay. So from there, what we want to do is start to work on the tri-tip. So I'm going to clean up some of this stuff so we can get it out of here. You can see a little better. And so I can see a little better. As far as the tri-tip seam. And so there's a trick to this that a lot of people don't know about. So, as you can see, as I pull that away, pull some of this stuff away, there's a couple fat seams here. And it actually makes the shape of a Z. It goes back this way. So the tri-tip is actually this portion right here. So what I want to do is start to open up the bottom of that Z. And so just gently start to cut open that connective tissue. And once you start to be able to get your finger under there, you can start to pull it away. And then go. So this is the tip of the tri-tip right there. And so continue that kind of all the way around and separate it. And so the tri-tip is a tricky cut to get off the animal. Get some of this fat out of the way. Just because it tucks under the sirloin tip and goes right up against the top sirloin. So with this one in particular, we kind of have to hang it off the table and then almost work on your knees as you're going through and staying on that seam. So you can see I'm right along the contour of the sirloin tip right there. And then what I'm looking for is the continuation of this silver skin going down, and that's going to be the end of the tri-tip where it hits the top sirloin. So you're kind of just pulling, trying to find that seam, which is right here. And then you start to pull it away. Try to leave as much of the meat on there as possible. And then you're using my hands to work around and just separate some of this stuff. So as you can see, it's starting to come off, comes to a little point up there, right underneath the sirloin tip. So I will break that off. And you have the tri-tip. So we can get rid of some of this fat, kind of clean it up a little bit, and it'll look a little more normal, what people are used to. A lot of times you'll see the tri-tip with the exterior fat cap removed. I like to keep it on just because it's better through the cooking process. So just trim it up. Take off some of the silver skin. And then I always like to leave whatever good fat is on there. So as far as that, I just leave it on there. But there is your tri-tip.
Just one more cut I'd like to see is the picanha.
You got it?
Can you do that for us?
Of course. Yeah, it's a great cut, really popular in South America. If you've ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse, that is the cut to get. And one of our favorites, and we're one of the only ones in town that can actually give it to you. So
this is true. I've looked. This is the only place. Actually, that's how I discovered this. Is picanha.
Nice.
How I discovered Hardened Trotter. So.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is separate the top sirloin from the round. And first thing I want to do is just saw through this the hip bone right there. Get some of the fat off my sole. So generally I want to be about an inch into or past the H bone right here. You can see the knuckle. That's where the femur starts, going down that way. But I want to be about right there. Go parallel with the tailbone itself. This it's hit or miss. I mean, if you're quarter inch to one side or the other, you're gonna have to cut twice. That usually happens. Sometimes you get lucky and you only have to cut once. But let's go ahead and do it. right. So I'm not lucky this time. We're gonna have to cut twice. So there's the round section. Then here is the top sirloin section. And so what we want to do is, using the bone scraper, we just want to clean away all of our sawdust that we created with the saw. Put that aside. And so what we want to do is go ahead and take the pelvic bone out, and along with the tailbone too. So just go right along contour all the way down. You're really using the knife to know where you are, even if you can't see where you are. It's the beauty of a knife that is flexible. So you can see it's starting to come apart. You want to go right down along the tailbone. Start to pull this away. Right along the bone. Leave as much meat on there as possible. Some of this stuff will go to trim. So that's the pelvis bone and part of the tailbone. So this is the whole top sirloin. So what we want to do is just clean up some of the fat on the exterior, on the bottom. And the picanha is on the top, so we'll take that off once we make a couple little adjustments. So some fat deposits, kind of just get out of there. And then from here, that's pretty much how you would normally see it. What we're gonna do is take the picanha, which is right here, off. So it's the cap, it's fairly easy. All you have to do is find that seam and follow it. And then just like all the other ones, you want to kind of pull away. Make that a little easier. And then just like the tri-tip, the picanha is also triangular shaped. So we've gotten through to the bottom. I'm just going to go right along that seam. So there's your top sirloin, there's your picanha. And then to clean this up, it's pretty easy. What you do is go right underneath that connective tissue. Pulls off fairly easily. There's a big piece of connective tissue right there, so you just want to get rid of that. Just go right underneath of it. I try to do these all in one stroke as much as possible. You don't want little saw marks all over everything. So just cut down along that. Clean this side up a little bit. And there you go.
Nice.
Amazing piece of meat. We get a lot of people from South America and other countries that are really excited that we have this. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of Brazilians here in San Diego.
Yep, we do. Every time they come in, they're blown away that we actually know what that is.
Got to tell you, man, I was very impressed. This was actually, it was pretty fun for me to watch. So I learned a lot, and my hat's off, because there's a lot of skill right here on this cutting board, so way to go.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Anyway, thanks again, man. I appreciate you taking your time to help me out with this video. And
of course. No, that's what we do. We're here. That's why our butcher block is not behind closed doors. We do everything right in front of everybody. So we love doing it, and that's what we do.
it's a show. It's a show.
Exactly.
Well, thanks again.
Of course.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.